Have you ever said something that made perfect sense in your head, and then watched the other person's face go completely blank? Like the words came out fine, but somehow nothing landed, and the worst part is, you could not figure out why. You walked away from that conversation feeling invisible, misunderstood, and maybe even a little bit stupid, even though you know you are not. That feeling right there, that quiet frustration that builds up over years of being overlooked in meetings, talked over at the dinner table, or completely dismissed in relationships. That is not a communication problem, that is a psychology problem. And once you understand the difference, everything changes. People who are instantly understood in any room they walk into are not smarter than you. They are not more confident, they are not better speakers. They are operating from a completely different set of invisible rules that most people never even know exist. And today, we are going to pull back the curtain on exactly what those rules are. But before we get too deep into this, I want to be real with you for a second. If you have been struggling with this for a long time, if this feeling of not being understood has been following you around across jobs, across friendships, across relationships, you do not have to figure this out alone. We have a program linked down below in the video description that walks you through this entire transformation step by step. People who go through it describe it as the thing they wish they had 20 years ago. If something inside you is already saying yes, that is worth paying attention to. But do not act on it yet. Finish this video first, because what you are about to learn is going to make that decision so much clearer. Now, let us talk about what is actually happening when someone does not understand you. Picture this. You are in a conversation. You know what you want to say. The thought is crystal clear. But the moment you open your mouth, it is like the signal gets scrambled. The other person hears words, but they are not getting the meaning behind those words. And then comes the nodding, the polite smile, the yeah, totally. And you know deep in your gut that they did not get it, not even close. That scramble happens because of something researchers in cognitive psychology have been studying for decades. Every single human brain on this planet processes incoming information through an invisible filter built from past experiences, emotional states, personal beliefs, and core desires. Your words are not landing directly, they are being filtered. And if your message does not match what that filter is looking for, it gets dropped, discarded, misinterpreted. Here is where it gets fascinating. The people who are instantly understood have figured out, whether consciously or not, how to speak directly to that filter. They are not just transmitting words, they are transmitting meaning in a way that the other person's brain is already pre-wired to receive. Think about the last time someone explained something to you and it just clicked, immediately, without effort, like the idea dropped straight into your mind fully formed. That feeling of instant clarity is not an accident. It is the result of a specific psychological mechanism called cognitive resonance. And it is completely learnable. Now here is the part that might sting a little bit, because I want to be honest with you. Most people are accidentally making this worse. They think the solution to not being understood is to say more, to over-explain, to add more detail, more context, more examples. But that is actually the exact opposite of what works. More information creates more noise, and more noise makes the filter work harder against you. The people who communicate with the most impact say less, but what they say lands harder, deeper, and lasts longer. Studies across behavioral psychology consistently show that the human brain retains emotional information at rates dramatically higher than factual information. We are talking about the difference between someone forgetting what you said in 30 seconds versus someone carrying your words with them for years. So what is the actual secret? It comes down to 3 invisible psychological forces, and once you see them, you cannot unsee them. The first one is called emotional mirroring. Before the brain will accept information, it needs to feel safe receiving it, and the way it determines safety is by checking whether the person communicating seems to be operating from the same emotional frequency. When someone feels mirrored, when they feel like the person talking actually gets where they are coming from, their guard drops, their filter loosens, and suddenly everything you say flows straight through. Think about the conversations where you have felt truly understood. Not just heard, truly understood. Chances are the person you were talking to was not offering advice right away. They were not jumping to solutions. They were simply reflecting back the truth of your experience in a way that made you feel seen. That is not warmth. That is strategic psychology happening in real time, and you can do it intentionally starting today. The second invisible force is called the clarity gap. Here is what most people do not realize. When you are trying to get someone to understand you, you are always starting from inside your own head. You already have all the context. You already know the backstory, the logic, the reasoning. But the person you are talking to is standing outside your head with zero of that context. The gap between what you know and what they know is the clarity gap, and most miscommunication lives entirely inside that gap. The people who close this gap fastest are not more intelligent. They have simply developed the habit of translating their internal experience into language that maps onto the listener's existing mental model. In other words, they stop speaking from their perspective and start speaking from yours. The moment that shift happens, understanding becomes almost automatic. And the third force is the most powerful one of all. It is called urgency of meaning. The brain is always asking one unconscious question during every conversation. Why should I care about this right now? Not eventually. Right now. If your message does not answer that question within the first few seconds, the brain moves on. It starts thinking about something else. It starts planning what it wants to say next. It starts drifting. The people who command attention and understanding have mastered the art of answering that question before it even gets asked. They lead with stakes, they lead with relevance. They make you feel the importance of what they are saying before the reasoning even begins. Now I want to take you somewhere for a moment, because I think this will hit differently when you see it this way. Imagine two versions of your life. In the first version, every important conversation goes the way most of them have been going. You share an idea, and people half listen. You open up about something real, and the response lands flat. You try to connect, and somehow you end up feeling more alone than before you started talking. Your career moves slower than it should because the right people are not seeing what you actually bring. Your relationships carry this low-level tension because you and the people you love are always slightly out of sync. And you start to wonder quietly, in the moments when no one is watching, whether there is something wrong with you, whether you are just not the kind of person who gets understood. Now imagine the second version. You walk into a room and something is different when you speak. People lean in, not because you are louder, not because you are performing, but because what you are saying is landing exactly the way you mean it to land. You have a conversation with someone important, and you can see in their eyes the moment it clicks for them. That moment of recognition. Your ideas get picked up and carried forward. Your relationships deepen faster. The people in your life start to actually see you. Not the version of you that gets lost in translation, but the real you. And here is what changes most dramatically. You stop bracing for misunderstanding. You stop rehearsing conversations in your head 30 times before having them. You stop shrinking yourself down to avoid being misinterpreted. You just say what you mean and it lands. Every time. That is not a fantasy. That is what happens when you understand the psychology behind being instantly understood, and you start applying it. Researchers studying interpersonal influence have found that people who master these communication dynamics experience measurable improvements in relationship satisfaction, career advancement rates, and even their own self-confidence within weeks of consistent application. Weeks, not years, not months, weeks. And here is what I want you to sit with for a moment. Every single day that passes with this gap still in place is another day of fractured conversations, missed connections, and opportunities that quietly slip by because the right message did not land at the right moment. The cost of staying where you are is not neutral, it compounds, just like the benefit of changing compounds in the other direction. Now, before you decide whether to take the next step or not, I want to be clear about something. This information is not for everyone. If you are comfortable with the way things are, if being misunderstood is not costing you anything, if your relationships and opportunities feel like they are exactly where you want them to be, then what we are talking about today might not be urgent for you. You can walk away from this video unchanged and be completely fine. But if something in this video has been making something ache in your chest, if you have been nodding along because this is your experience, if you are tired of working this hard to be understood and still falling short, then you already know this is not just interesting information. This is something you need. The program linked in the video description below takes everything we have explored here and goes 40 levels deeper. The people going through it are having conversations they never thought possible. They are being understood in ways they stopped believing could happen for them. The transformation is real, and it is faster than you expect. But none of that matters if you leave this page and tell yourself you will come back to it later. Later has a way of becoming never, and you've already been waiting long enough. Everything you've been wanting from the relationships and opportunities in your life is sitting on the other side of being truly understood. The only question is whether today is the day you decide to close that gap for good,